Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, Joseph. It's great to be here and to tell you a bit more about what I do in terms of how I help organizations to remain competitive in a digital world. I think we live in a collaboration era nowadays, and I'd like to tell you more about how to thrive in an exponential world. The world is changing faster and faster than ever before, and that is partially due to the new technologies that we are developing all together. This slide that you see behind me is a hype cycle for emerging technologies developed by Gartner, and it shows you very clearly how and which new technologies are coming into our market. For those who are not familiar with the hype cycle, it basically works as follows. You have the new introduction, which are the innovation triggers, which are innovations that are 5 to 10 years out. As an organization, you should be aware of what's coming, even if it is 5 to 10 years out. Then we move to the peak of inflated expectations, where we see the trends that are all over the news now. We see machine learning, we see autonomous vehicles, we see blockchain, and these are really the technologies that are full of hype and buzz at the moment. Everyone thinks that these technologies will change the world, including myself, but we don't know really how it's going to look like. So what happens then afterwards, we go through a trough of disillusionment, which basically means that we find out that these technologies are not the magic power that we thought they were. Right? It seems that we need more work, more research, more development to truly understand how these technologies can help our organization. But eventually we come back to the slope of enlightenment and the plateau of productivity, where we see that we understand how these technologies can help us, and how these technologies are actually changing the world, changing our business, and changing how we deal with our customers and employees. And that brings me to the triangle of big data, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. As I already mentioned, that's part of my PhD that I'm doing in Sydney, Australia. And I truly believe that this triangle is the holy grail of the organization for tomorrow. For some organizations, that might also involve the Internet of Things. But for most of it, these three will determine whether or not you will be successful in the future. And what I would like to do is I would like to discuss each three of these technologies, these trends, and show you how it changes collaboration within your organization and within society as a whole. So let's first start with big data. Big data empowers your employees and customers. Big data is a new way of ensuring that all your employees, as well as your customers, have the right information to do what they need to do. It's a very old saying, knowledge is power. We create from data, we create information, from information we create knowledge, and knowledge equals power. So if your employees or your customers have this knowledge, they are empowered to make the right decisions for the company, for Fujitsu, but also for the customers. So as a first takeaway that I'd like to give you for this talk is that you start using different new data sources that you weren't aware of. Start looking for data sources that could be very relevant for you, but that at the moment you don't use. And once you have those data sources, start using your different types of analytics to empower your employees, to empower your customers, and to start to co-create. Then I'd like to move to the second trend that I think is absolutely going to change everything that we know. I heard that yesterday there was a workshop around blockchain, and I heard it was a very popular workshop. I'm very glad to hear that, because that means that there is a lot of interest in it. And I'm also aware that Fujitsu is already doing some small projects here and there with blockchain, which is good to see as well, because I truly believe that blockchain is a massive paradigm shift. And if it all of a sudden becomes possible to have a peer-to-peer collaboration where you can take away the intermediary, that is a true paradigm shift. And there are not many organizations at the moment, I think, who do see the impact of this paradigm shift. For those who weren't present in the workshop yesterday, or those who want to learn more, I'll quickly go through a little bit what is blockchain from my perspective. Because blockchain means, still a very abstract concept for many, and it helps to give you my point of view of there as well. 2 years already ago, Goldman Sachs said that blockchain will change well, everything. And there have been a lot of comparisons to blockchain is as important as the development of the limited liability company or the steam engine, or blockchain is as big of an impact as the internet had on the world. And to be honest, I truly believe I agree with all those statements, because what I see is that blockchain is truly having a massive impact. Because when you have a shared single source of the truth that is accessible to anyone who has access to the blockchain, that is really changing everything. Bottom line, a blockchain is just a database. That's the most simple explanation I can give of the blockchain. It's just a database. But it is a database that is shared and that creates an immutable, verifiable, and traceable data record. And the fact that something is immutable, verifiable, and traceable truly changes the game. Because then it becomes possible to trust someone whom you don't trust. And nowadays, if I have to make a transaction with someone whom I don't trust, I use a bank, for example, if I want to send money to you. I don't trust you, I don't know you, so I use a bank to send my money to you. With blockchain, this trust is created cryptographically, and we don't need the bank anymore. But it's not only in the financial services industry, as I will show you a bit later, but it is in any industry, this will have the same impact. Removing the intermediaries and creating peer-to-peer collaboration. The first time that a DAO was developed was a year ago, and it was a massive failure because it raised $150 million in 3 weeks and then lost $50 million in a hack because the smart contracts were executed incorrectly. So it shows you that it's very difficult, but we are working on this, and it's just a matter of time before we have a first true DAO. Now, I don't say that Fujitsu should become a DAO, because then you would all lose your jobs, and that would be a bit of a shame. But I do say that we do see that more and more big organizations, such as banks and telecom organizations, are moving towards becoming a DAO as much as possible. And of course, HSBC or Lloyds will never become a full DAO because they are too big and too old for that. But it's important to understand how they can use peer-to-peer collaboration, how they can use the blockchain and smart contracts to become as much as possible a DAO. As I mentioned earlier, blockchain definitely is not only for the financial services industries. It is really focusing on any type of industry, anywhere where transactions are made. And one area that is close to my heart personally is the content industry. Currently, I'm building a new company on how content can be exchanged and used using the blockchain. And if you have content, any type of content, from video to software to articles, you can start to record the metadata, the copyright, the ownership information on the blockchain. Once you do that, you are much better able to protect your copyright, to remove plagiarism. And two, you're much better able to reward those who are involved with creating that content. Nowadays, if you have music and you place it on YouTube, if you get 1 million views, you get a few $100 from YouTube, and the rest goes either to YouTube or goes to your agent or goes to all the other intermediaries that are involved in creating that content or distributing the content. With blockchain, that money can go straight to you and therefore reward you for the efforts that you do. And what we'll see is that provenance will change content distribution, because provenance becomes possible with the blockchain. Because everything is immutable, verifiable, and traceable, you can truly go back to what has happened with that product, or more importantly, with the data. Because blockchain also enables data provenance and enables you to understand who has access to the data, who has used the data, where does the data come from, how has the data been applied, those kind of things. And if you want to build a data organization, that becomes very important. So once we have, once we start to converge blockchain and big data, we start to see the true power of both technologies. Because it becomes possible to, one, make data private, to, as a consumer, have full control over your data and determine who can access to the data or not. It becomes much more secure once the data is on the blockchain, and it becomes also possible to start sharing your data. But that's a very important thing to know, because that changes, again, how you deal with your customers. That changes how you collaborate with your customers. Because all of a sudden, if I have full control over my data, and I don't want you to use my data, in the new world, you won't be able to do so. So you therefore need to ask consent, not only with a simple terms and conditions sheet that happens today, but you need to ask consent on a technical level. And that, of course, is a new way which organizations are not used to. Because nowadays, they believe, especially Facebook and Google, they believe you create the data, we own it, it's ours, we can do whatever we want with it, and we don't need any consent from you whatsoever, apart from please sign here that you approve to use our services. For a company, that really is a new paradigm, is a new way of dealing with the data. And it's important to be aware of how that changes the technology that needs to be built to use this. So my second takeaway is how blockchain enables a decentralized stakeholder collaboration. Blockchain is a new way to create peer-to-peer collaborations with your customers, with your employees, and it changes and it removes the intermediary. And by doing that, it is a paradigm shift that is very important to be aware of. Then the final trend that I would like to discuss, artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence brings us closer to collaboration with machines. And I think artificial intelligence is truly, again, a game changer that will bring us closer to artificial general intelligence. So we have basically three forms of artificial intelligence that has been determined. We have a narrow AI, which is the artificial intelligence that we all know. It's your calculator, it's Siri, it's whatever algorithms that we have developed, and they are a million times better than what we can do. Artificial general intelligence is artificial intelligence which is as bright as humans. It's like Siri, who can drive your car, make you coffee, do your accountancy, those kind of things. And finally, super artificial intelligence is artificial intelligence that's a million times brighter than mankind combined. It's like Siri ruling the world, and we just have to hope that she's very good for us. This becomes possible thanks to technologies such as deep learning, machine learning, and neural networks. And what we see is that it's really starting to take off. So the past years, past decades, we have seen some ups and downs in artificial intelligence development, but only recently we're really starting to hit the exponential mark. Last year, when Google developed AlphaGo together with the company DeepMind, it was the first time we had intuitive artificial intelligence. In 1999, we already won with chess. The game of Go is much more difficult. The game of chess was done with brute force computations. You can't do that with the game of Go because there are more possibilities than there are atoms in the known universe. So you need to know, the artificial intelligence had to play hundreds, thousands of millions of times of the game and start to become intuitive of what would be the right decision to make. A true game changer. And what we therefore will see is that in the coming years, AI will become our boss. AI will become our copywriter, assistant, our driver, our customer service department. So more and more, we will need to start collaborate with the machines, whether we want it or not. So human-machine interactions, what does it mean? What does it mean if you have a boss which is an algorithm? What does it mean if you have to call and you no longer get an employee? I don't have an answer to that because we are slowly moving towards this future. But we see that artificial intelligence and robotics are really taking over large portions of our jobs and making organizations more automated. And there's a very interesting movie, which if you haven't seen it yet, it's a very funny movie. I'm not going to show it here because it's 15 minutes, but humans need not apply. It basically explains us how this process is happening and how robotics are taking over every part of our jobs. Not only the blue-collar work jobs, but also the white-collar jobs. And that it becomes more and more important to start collaborating with the machines to ensure that they do what we want them to do. So my final takeaway on artificial intelligence is that human-to-machine and machine-to-machine collaboration driven by artificial intelligence requires a different approach. But it does require tremendous opportunities as an organization if we are capable to do it right. So blockchain, big data, and artificial intelligence are the holy grail, what I think, for the organization of tomorrow. It enables new ways of collaboration that in the end all revolve around data. So we have the analytics, or big data analytics, we have the blockchain, we have the AI that enables human-to-machine and machine-to-machine interactions that will create a more competitive organization. So to summarize, big data empowers employees and customers to co-create. Blockchain enables a decentralized stakeholder collaboration, and it's really time to start investigating it now. And human-to-machine and machine-to-machine driven by AI requires a different approach, but offers tremendous opportunities. And with that, I would like to leave it. Thank you very much.